Well, I want to put a bow on this probability thing as it pertains to the future chapters. As I mentioned at the outset, this has something to do with hypothesis testing. And if you'll just grant me this as a movie preview of sorts, this is sort of telling the future about what we're going to do in Chapter 8. We're going to use probability to evaluate a treatment effect or a hypothesis of sorts. And we're going to describe values that are unlikely, extremely unlikely, to be obtained from the original population as evidence of a treatment effect. And the way we'll do that is first propose a null hypothesis, basically assuming that what we're doing doesn't make any difference at all. So if I had a weight loss program and I propose that most people are going to go through that weight loss program and actually lose weight, the null hypothesis suggests that it won't make any difference. That's not what I want to believe as the researcher, but that null, N-U-L-L, hypothesis would suggest that it didn't make any difference. So what we'll have here, and this is really going to pertain to Chapter 7 and 8, are high probability values indicating that the treatment has no effect, as we said before. We'll actually get sample means that are likely and unlikely to be obtained given that the null hypothesis is true. If we get a sample mean that's unlikely given that the null hypothesis is true, we might actually say that the null hypothesis isn't true. And we'll literally be saying this, quite literally. This sample mean was so unlikely to have been obtained given that the null hypothesis is true that we'll decide that the null hypothesis isn't true and we'll reject the null hypothesis. In so doing, we'll enjoy statistical significance. That's the way that works. Might we be wrong? Yes. In the social sciences, we don't have proofs. We only have statistical significance. So I don't want to bother you with that too much now, but this is meant to be a preview of sorts. What's this all for? We're building up to something. We're building up to Chapter 7, in which we're not going to be dealing with populations anymore, but we're going to be dealing with distributions of sample means, which is kind of an interesting topic. And then we're going to go to Chapter 8, where we'll actually get into hypothesis testing. And really, gosh, I'm not so sure how far we'll get this semester with all the tumult. As far as we'll get, I think, is Chapter 9. So Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 both have to do with, quote-unquote, one sample hypothesis tests, either using Z, as we're doing now, kind of, sort of, or using T in Chapter 9. But again, we'll have to see how far we get. Anyway, I think you'll enjoy this. And by the way, not for nothing, I feel like I should mention this. How do I put this gently? This is the time to read if you haven't read before. I mean, I really have gone out of my way to pick the absolute most lucid textbook that's available in the United States, in my opinion. I've sampled maybe 20 books. No book is as good as this one in terms of just sheer clarity. I believe that with all my heart. So please indulge the effort, particularly since we're separated. We're going to miss 9 class periods together. That's a lot. And I really need you to augment your effort with some genuine reading of a terribly lucid, very good textbook that's been around since 1988. That says something. 10 editions in however many years it was before the guy died. 10 editions over 28 years. That's a lot. And that suggests that the book is very good. So please do be reading, particularly Chapters 7 and 8, because we'll get to those whether it's in person or online. Well, I hope you're doing well. And this is the end of Chapter 6. We'll pick up with Chapter 7.